Welcome to Let's Learn 2-Point Hospital. All right, hi, this is Attican, and welcome to the first video in a new series on a new game for me, 2-Point Hospital. I've been playing it for about 2 weeks now, hardcore. I've been really just studying the game, trying lots of different strategies, learning how the mechanics work and what have you. And I guess first thing I need to say is thank you to those of you who, among our little group, prompted me to play this game and to make some videos on it. I've really enjoyed it. I think you're going to enjoy it too. And to me, it's a really good game. When I first saw it, I thought it was way too simplistic. The silliness of it, the silly illnesses and stuff at first kind of deceived me. I thought, but as I play it, I find out that there's a lot to the game. There's a lot to know about how to play and how to really make efficient hospital systems. And don't let the silliness of those illnesses and the cures fool you. They really, I have to give the developers a hand. They have gone out of their way to take what could be a very serious and unsettling topic, namely people getting sick and dying, and making it just silly enough that it doesn't overwhelm you, and that you can enjoy playing the game without relating to it too well. So hats off to the developers, good job. So anyway, what we're going to do here is start with Lower Bullocks. That's actually your second hospital. You're managing an entire chain of hospitals all through 2-Point County. And each hospital has kind of different illnesses that it tends to get and different things that you need to do in order to grow your hospital. But at each one, you're trying to grow the hospital to a 3-star. That's basically it, to earn 3 stars. And each star has different qualifications, things you have to do in order to get there. So what I'm doing here, in Lower Bullocks, we actually inherited one that had a slight star. It had a little GPS office, general practitioner's office, a GP office, and that was about it. So I killed it. Those of you who know me from my other videos, I hate inheriting other people's messes. I like to make my own mess. So what I'm doing here, what I did there first was set up a GP office kind of in the center, and I'll explain that as we go along. What I'm going to show in this particular video is just one of my concepts for how I like to lay out the hospital and how to make things work efficiently. So what I think the first concept really to talk about while we just kind of watch the gameplay is the idea of diagnosis and treatment. And this is one of those, I don't mean to insult you, but it's very important to understand that there are basically 2 major phases going on here. Diagnosis, of course, is the act of figuring out what is wrong with the patient, right? I mean, the nice thing about this game is something we should all be able to relate to. Unfortunately, we all have our turns at being ill and going to the doctor, going to a hospital, and that's what this game is all about in its slightly silly form. So what we're looking at is diagnosis and treatment, and they're 2 completely different things. The diagnosis in this game is go to a GP. He tries to figure out what's wrong with you. If he can, he'll send you off to the treatment, and you'll go be treated and you'll go away. You'll either get cured or you'll die, or you won't be cured, but at the end of the day, that patient is finished when he goes to treatment. Now, the diagnostic process can go on and on. If the GP is unable to figure it out in one visit, he has to send you to other places to get further diagnostics. So there's a room called General Diagnostics. That's the one we're looking at down here to the right of our screen. And the one I'm building right now is called a ward. And it is a combination of diagnostics and treatment. So sometimes you go to a ward to be treated, and sometimes you go to the ward to be diagnosed. In other words, for observation, if you will. And what you just saw me build is a variation of something I have to give credit to Pinstar, Pinstar. That's a fellow YouTuber. By the way, this may be unusual for somebody to do this in their own video, but I would highly recommend that you watch Pinstar's videos about this game, because he is like me, he studies the game and tries to come at it in a way that gives you something different than just playing the game. And he does a great job. He's really into efficiency, and you'll see me, 2 or 3 of the rooms that I set up, I've just ripped them straight off of Pinstar, either that or modified something that he has done. And so I really recommend those videos that he's done. And I guess while I'm at it, in fairness too, there's another YouTuber named Paulsley, Paulsley, who's a very good player and has put in many hours playing this game. Obviously loves the game and has put out a lot of videos on it. And there's some good. He's got some good stuff as well. Pinstar is more into the down and dirty left brain scientific study the animation frames and figure out efficiency, and Paulsley's more of a big picture. He also pretty hospital, all that kind of stuff. I'm kind of, I would say right now, in the middle. I definitely want the efficiency. For me, form follows function, so I make my rooms work rather than look pretty, but at the same time I don't do that completely, and I don't do that 100%. So let's get back to what I am trying to do right here. What I am trying to do, I like to actually build out all of my diagnostic options as quickly as I can. So the reason being that to get to the more involved illnesses and to get to the money that the more involved illnesses pay you, you have to have the diagnostic capability to find those illnesses. If all you have is a GP and a pharmacy, you can cure, in the game terms, grout and clamp, and that's about it. There's a few others that can go straight from GP to pharmacy, but not a lot. And the ones that you run through the system and then treat are the ones actually where you make the most money, because you make money through your diagnostics and you make money in treatment. But the whole trick to the game is to be able to do that efficiently and move your folks through so quickly that they are healed, that they don't run out of time and die on you. Now, what you saw right there is another Pinstar thing right there. He calls it the, what does he call it? The 2x4 toilet. And that toilet is very efficient, has 4 cubicles, and works very efficiently. We can get into more details on it. Really, just go watch his video on it. He'll explain it to you and do a good job to let you know what's going on. So we've got, okay, another good concept while I'm laying all this out. You want to have a GP office basically for every diagnostic office or room that you have in your hospital. They want to match 1-to-1 basically. So we've got general diagnosis, we've got a ward, and now we have a psychiatrist. The psychiatrist's office also is like the ward. It's double duty. It does diagnosis, it does treatment. So I count it as a diagnosis as well. So we really want to have, right now we've got 3 diagnosis rooms and 2 GPs, and that's actually, honestly, that's a little light on GPs, frankly, but we don't have the volume now. In fact, we haven't even started. We haven't even run the game yet, basically. I'm just going through and getting everything ready, doing upgrades and queuing up my janitor to upgrade the mixer for our pharmacy, and laying out how the room's going to look. But the thing I like to do is take the first building that you get for any hospital and make that general diagnosis. And so the customer comes into reception, they go to a GP, they go to some diagnostic building, comes back to GP, repeats that process however many times they have to till we have a diagnosis of the illness, and then they go to treatment. So the first room is dedicated to diagnosis. And I try to get the GPs, like in this case, centralized, so you go in and out of the middle, so it's a short walk to wherever you need to go to your next diagnosis. So as this thing grows, we'll build more diagnosis buildings out around that outer ring, and they will work with the GP offices in the middle. I did put the psychiatrist there in the middle just because I know that this particular little hospital would probably not go past 3 GPs in this section because you don't have all the diagnostic rooms open to you yet. They open up as you play along. So what I'm doing here is staffing up those buildings, the rooms that we just created with nurses. So we have doctors to match up with our GP and psychiatry, and we have nurses to match up with our pharmacy and our general practice and our ward, excuse me. So here's another one of those great names, verbal diarrhea. I think I have that one sometimes. In fact, I know I do. I probably should check in. But I love the names. I love some of the treatments and stuff. It's very, very cool. So we've got our janitor out doing upgrades because that's what we need to do to free up some new technology in this particular hospital. Again, every hospital is a little bit different in terms of what you need to do and what kind of challenges you have. But right now we've got a pretty efficient little machine going here. You can see that people are moving right through the system. We're processing them as fast as they can come into us, and we're going to make sure that we have the right staffing.
We hope you've enjoyed your stay, but please eventually leave.
That Attican variant of the Pinstar Power Ward, he calls it, needs 2 nurses to work at max efficiency, so we've got bumped it up to have 2 nurses. And now I'm looking at the rota, which is the assignments, and it's very important to get these assignments so that these nurses and doctors, even your janitors and assistants, if you want to go that far, are freed up and ready to work on the right assignments. Particularly make sure that you have make sure you have your GPs working GP and your psychiatrists working psychiatry. Now, nobody else can go do psychiatry, but if you have your psychiatrist off doing GP work, and then when you have a need for a psychiatrist and you don't have one, you can have a problem. So your rota is how you handle all that. There's just a ton of stuff to talk about. That's why we're going to do this series, because it's a great game. It's got a lot of stuff to it. And I'm trying my best not to cover the entire game on one video, because it can't be done. So here we're expanding out to another building. For one reason, they're requiring us to. For a second reason is that, remember I said diagnostics and treatment. Well, we're going to dedicate this building that we're building out here in the middle to diagnostics. But here we go. We've got a diagnosis now of someone that has pandemonium or PANS head or whatever they call it. And we've got to have this PANS lab to remove that pan from that poor fellow's head. So what you want to do with your treatment in my design is move your treatment into a different building. Because remember, your patient comes in, reception, GP, back and forth with diagnosis until you figure it out. Then he goes off for treatment. When he goes off for treatment, once that treatment either succeeds or fails, the patient leaves or dies. That's the end. So you want your diagnosis stuff to be nice and tight and together, and you can send them off a ways to go get the treatment, because the treatment again will succeed or fail, and you'll be done with that patient. So you don't want to. You would be tempted to put it right in here if you had some space, but that's just taking away space from your diagnosis and going up the works. So one concept I like to follow is just that: put your treatment over in a different place. So now we've got this PANS lab in a different building. So that building is our treatment wing. And of course, this is our general diagnostics area. Now, what that applies to is, another key thing about this game is it's all about, see those people walking? It's all about that walking. Managing that walking is the game.
Maintenance required in psychiatry.
Again, if you're a Sims player, you'll know what I mean. But if you can manage the time that people have to walk back and forth between places and minimize it and make it efficient, then you can handle this. So one of the things that we will do over time, as the hospital grows, we will have doctors and nurses who are dedicated to the diagnostics, and they will stay in this area, and we'll make sure that we've got toilet and staff room to keep them over here. So if they have a need for toilet, they'll stay here and then they'll go back to work in this area. If they want to take a break, they'll take the break here and then they'll go back to work in this area. Our next area where we have treatment, we'll set up our rota so that we have doctors and nurses dedicated to treatment, and then we'll set up the toilets and break rooms and food and drink and what have you that they might need, entertainment, whatever, near them over in the treatment room, so that they will stay over there and continue to work efficiently and not have to walk giant distances. So that's the basic idea of how you handle the staffing. So the staffing and the division of the rooms. So you want to kind of have your rooms, to me, logically defined to have a purpose. So this one in our simple little hospital here, this one again is general diagnostics. The one over to the right is going to be a treatment. If we kept going, maybe we would have an orthopedic. We'll show you, we'll cover it in future videos, an orthopedic ward, which will have the stuff that we need to do, broken limbs, broken bones, that kind of thing. And then we'll get further on, we'll get into like genetics and stuff like that, and we'll have a genetics ward, and we'll have things that we need for that. But we'll get into that later on. But now, just the simple concept is, remember to keep the people, the doctors and nurses who are best at diagnostics working in this area we're looking at right here, and do that through your rota and through the way you organize your buildings. And then have your doctors and nurses who are the better at treatment over doing treatment, of course, in a separate area, and have it set up so they will stay over there. They won't have to go all the way back to the other room to get a break. And right now, we don't have that. We're still very, very small and very early. But we will eventually set it up so that we don't have these doctors and nurses wandering back and forth. Okay, now I got a challenge here to come up with a level 4 staff room. And I'm looking to see how exactly I would do that given what I have to work with. And maybe that's a good time to introduce this idea of kudosh. Kudosh are these little kind of brownie points you gain for doing certain things, hitting certain achievements, etc. And with them you can buy all these items. Now you notice I'm looking right there at that Gold Star Award. That is nirvana. That is the single thing to have if you want to build up your rooms. The Gold Star Award's awesome. Once we have it, you'll be able to see it, or if you watch somebody else's videos, you'll certainly see it in action. But it is the thing to have. If we had that, I would go ahead right now and build this room out. I'm looking at it and thinking, no, right now without that or any other kind of nice things to put in there, it's just going to be too much of a pain, so I'm not going to worry about trying to build it up right now. To get to our 1-star hospital, we're practically there. We had to own 2 buildings, which we do. We had to cure 3 patients over in that PANS lab, which we've done. And we have to get to level 6 in our hospital. And the leveling comes from expanding, having more rooms, having better quality rooms, having more staff, higher quality staff. So as we grow, we'll just grow right into that level 6. So now we've got a request for this deluxe clinic, which we opened up in our first hospital, which I skipped as far as the videos are concerned. Hogsport, I think it's called. I want to call it Hogsmeade. I'm getting a Harry Potter flashback there, but Hogsport, yes, I think that's right. So anyway, we skipped that one because it's a tutorial and it was really a little boring, a little too easy. This one's pretty easy too, but it's not too bad. So now we're setting up this deluxe clinic, and because we've diagnosed the patients with that illness. There's another good concept to follow, is don't build your treatment until you need it, because the treatment, there's no point in spending that money. That money could be spent on other things. But again, I like personally to get all the diagnostics I can as fast as I can so that I can get to those more advanced illnesses more quickly. But I don't want to build the treatments just because I can build that that building, and we just did the deluxe clinic. Just because I could build one, until I need it, there's no point in it. So now I've got a patient. We're going to unscrew his light bulb head and use a 3D printer, or hers, use a 3D printer to create a new head and put that on. So we're able to cure a patient there. So all we need to do really to get this one, we're just almost done on this one, just get it up to level 6. And we are good to go. We're just knocking on the door of that. Oh, and one thing I didn't mention, I did go in, I immediately jack up my prices, move the prices up at least 30% above normal. You could do even more. I've run hospitals at 100% for a while. You can jack the prices up. Why not? If you can make that money and get paid. And your problem, the thing of it is, the high prices will eventually cause your reputation to drop. Lower prices would, of course, make your reputation go up, so you get more patients. But there's a point where if you're getting more patients than your infrastructure can hold, you'll actually start losing money and losing patients left and right. So you want to maintain that and control it. So the higher prices, while you may think it slows down your growth, it actually makes sure that you're getting a profit out of what you've invested, and it keeps you from getting that reputation up too fast. And there we go. We've already hit our level 1 hospital. So we've managed to get to our 1 star in Lower Bullocks, and now that's opened up fluttering, and it's given us our cardiology, which is another diagnostics, and it's given us the ability to take that deluxe and upgrade it. So good deal. And in our next video, we'll actually go on to fluttering, because one of my principles is out then up, out then up. You'll see it in the way I build the hospitals, and you'll see it in the way we manage the entire system of hospitals. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it'll help you become a better player, and I hope you'll join us for our next 2-point hospital video. Thank you.